And that's the end of the first half. As the teams head to the locker room, the Spartans lead the Bulldogs by a score.
You guys stink.
Geez, Coach, we're only down a couple of points.
No, I mean you guys really smell. You need to hit the showers. And here, I got every one of you new bars of soap from the Sterling Soap Company. Each bar is artisan crafted using natural ingredients and essential oils. They also have shave soaps, colognes, beard balm, and a whole lot more. Now get in there.
But Coach, we have another half to play.
I don't care. I can't stand to be around you.
A few minutes later.
All right, bring it in tight. You guys are still playing terrible, but you're smelling great out there. Now listen, you're going to need to stock up for the rest of the season. We got a lot of tough games left. So go to sterlingsoap.com after the game. That's STIRLING soap.com. You got that?
Yes, Coach.
Great. Sterlingsoap.com on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Sterlingsoap.com.
This is Basketball History 101 with Rick Loayza.
Welcome back to Award-winning Basketball History 101, part of the Sports History Network. I'm your host, Rick Loayza, and this is the podcast where we bring to life some of the forgotten stories from basketball history. We are bringing old school basketball to a new school audience, and today we bring you the story of Mike D'Antoni's Italian adventure. If you're an NBA fan, then you know Mike D'Antoni mostly for being the head coach of the Phoenix Suns during their 7 seconds or less offense. With Steve Nash as his point guard, that era of the Phoenix Suns was one of the highest octane offenses ever. They scored fast and they scored often. But he is also the coach that subbed in Jeremy Lin to a New York Knicks game when they were down by a ton of points. And that was the night that started Linsanity. But before all of that, Mike D'Antoni was a head coach in the Italian League for a total of 8 seasons. And that does not include the 13 seasons that he spent as a player in the Italian League for a total of 21 years in Italy. So let's go back to the beginning. D'Antoni was born on May 8, 1951 in Mullins, West Virginia. D'Antoni was one of those guys that you might consider a basketball lifer. His own father was a high school basketball coach. Mike and his older brother Dan were practically raised with a basketball in their hands. They loved the game and learning from their father about the details and the nuances of how to play the game at a very high level. And like most boys who grow up playing basketball, it was his dream to make it to the NBA. And Mike could play. He had some real skill and NBA potential. And after graduating from Marshall University, D'Antoni was drafted in the second round by the Kansas City Omaha Kings in 1973. D'Antoni had fulfilled his dream of making it to the NBA, but he never really made a splash, at least not by NBA standards. As a rookie, he averaged 19 minutes per game and just under 5 points per game. His minutes and his scoring actually dropped during his second season. By his third season with the Kings, his scoring had dropped even more to just 2 points per game. If he was going to extend his playing career, a major move was needed. Very early in that third year with the Kings, he left the team in order to sign with the Spirits of St. Louis of the old ABA. But things did not get that much better as he averaged less than 4 points per game with the Spirits. In just his fourth year at the professional level, he played with the San Antonio Spurs but only played in 2 games. And that was the end of his American basketball career. But the good news for D'Antoni is that America is not the only country that plays professional basketball. That was when an opportunity arose. He had an offer from Olimpia Milano of the Italian League, or as the Italians call it, La Lega. He was 26 years old when he arrived in Milan to join the team and help them try to win an Italian League championship. In La Lega, they have the concept of the stranieri. These are foreign players that sign contracts with one of the Italian teams. Now, back in 1977, each team was only allowed 2 stranieri. In today's Italian league, teams can have as many as 6 foreign players, depending on whether or not those players come from within the European Union or from outside of it. But in any case, back in Mike D'Antoni's day, each team got 2 foreign players. and they were almost always American players. Back in 1977, the talent gap between the Italian League and the NBA was enormous. For an Italian team to be able to bring in 2 players with NBA experience was a massive upgrade. But again, every other team was also allowed to do the same thing, so it really mattered which 2 Americans you were bringing in. Often, players that played forward or center struggled in the Italian league because their Italian point guard had trouble delivering the pass where the players wanted it. It resulted in the centers often coming further and further out from the paint in order to receive the ball. But then once he received it, he was so far away from his spot that he became ineffective. For Olimpia Milano, bringing in D'Antoni was a stroke of genius. He was a point guard and a shooting guard. Now, with the ball in D'Antoni's hands, he was not reliant on someone else to get him the ball where he liked it. He was the one in control. He had the ball, and he knew how to run an offense to get the most out of his teammates. And it did not hurt that D'Antoni comes from Italian descent and has an Italian last name. That just worked to endear him to the fans of Milano. Even though he was an American by language and culture, the Italian fans accepted him as one of their own. So Mike D'Antoni quickly became Michele D'Antoni, and he was a revelation. Now, by American standards, he was not an overly flashy player. However, by Italian standards, he was like Pistol Pete Maravich. Not only was he an effective player who improved the team tremendously, but he was so much fun to watch. He was an overnight sensation in the Italian league, and particularly in the city of Milano. He quickly became one of the best point guards in the entire Italian league, and many would argue that he was the best point guard in all of Europe during the 1980s. He played in the Italian league for 13 years and led the league in steals 6 times. He also led his team to 5 league titles plus 2 EuroLeague titles, which is a championship for the entire continent of Europe, where the best teams from each country play each other for a title every year. Winning the EuroLeague is enormous. The team also won 2 Italian Cup titles and a Korach Cup title. In all, D'Antoni helped lead Milano to 10 trophies, and that is an absolutely incredible accomplishment. D'Antoni became not only the star of Olimpia Milano, but he was a star across the league. Even opposing fans cheered his exploits. One of the things that differentiate European sports fans from American sports fans is that in Europe, when an opposing player makes an incredible play, it will get applause. In the European way of thinking, clapping for an incredible move or an incredible play shows respect for the game, even if that move was made by an opposing player. And I love that idea of always respecting the game and honoring an amazing play, whether it was somebody from your team or someone from the other team. But D'Antoni's fans were not exclusively Italian. He had one young American fan in particular who followed his career closely. And this American kid happened to be living in Italy because this kid's own father was also a basketball player and a straniero for one of the other teams in the Italian league. This kid always considered D'Antoni to be his favorite player from the Italian league. And that young American kid who loved D'Antoni's game, it was a real full circle moment when D'Antoni later became Kobe's head coach with the Lakers. And if you recall, Kobe's dad, Jelly Bean Bryant, was playing in the Italian league at the same time as D'Antoni. In fact, the reason that Kobe Bryant wore number 8 when he first joined the Lakers was in honor of his favorite player from Italy, Mike D'Antoni. Today, D'Antoni's jersey number 8 is retired by Milano. After 13 years as a player in the Italian league, it was time for D'Antoni to hang up his sneakers and find something else to do. Thankfully, he did not have to look very far for his next opportunity. As soon as he retired as a player, the team named him the new head coach of Olimpia Milano. In 4 seasons as the head coach, he won 1 trophy, the Korach Cup, but then he got hired away by Benetton, where he won 6 more trophies. And one of the things that D'Antoni did every year while he was coaching was to host a Christmas get-together for the American players from all over the league. The party also included any American journalists or scouts who happened to be in Italy at the time, and some of his Italian friends and neighbors who were huge basketball fans. Bob McAdoo was a big hit at the party while he was playing in Italy. So after all of those years in Italy and all of the success that he was having, he always had one eye on the NBA. He would receive VHS tapes of NBA games so that he could watch them from his home office in Italy. He also returned to the United States every summer to make sure that he stayed on the radar of American basketball executives that might be looking for a new coach. He maintained contacts and friends within the American coaching community. And in the summer of 1998, he finally got his chance. It just so happened that by the late 1990s, more and more European players were entering the NBA. The Denver Nuggets figured that D'Antoni was especially qualified since he was an American who had played in the NBA, but had also spent significant time in Europe as both a player and a coach. D'Antoni was in the unique position of being familiar with both the NBA way of playing and the European way of playing. He was perfect to be an assistant coach with the Denver Nuggets, and after just 1 year as the assistant coach, he was promoted to the head coaching job for the Nuggets. And then later, he also became the head coach of the Suns, the Knicks, the Lakers, and the Rockets. And most recently, he was a special consultant with the New Orleans Pelicans. But his time in Italy was something that he would always hold dear. He is still a beloved figure in Italian basketball as both a player and as a coach. At this point, he is as comfortable navigating Italian culture as he is American culture. Now, to sum him up, if you can even sum up someone's life in just 1 or 2 sentences, D'Antoni was a lifer who could talk about basketball all day. I mean, he has a real passion for it. Now, I've been to Italy a couple of times, although I've never been to see a basketball game. One of these days I hope to go, but the basketball fans in Italy are just as passionate about their teams as the soccer fans are. They chant and they wave banners and they yell at the fans of the other team. They cheer every basket. It is an absolutely incredible environment. And D'Antoni's unique qualifications and experience also caught the eye of Mike Krzyzewski. When Coach K led Team USA in the 2008 and the 2012 Olympics, one of his assistants was Mike D'Antoni, who was the most familiar with the European style of play and a real asset to the team's coaching staff. Today, Mike D'Antoni is mostly retired at the age of 74, but his impact on the game in Italy and the United States should always be remembered. Well, that is it for today. Join us next time when we share another story from basketball history. That's next time on Basketball History 101, part of the Sports History Network, the headquarters of Sports Yesteryear. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com to find out more about this and other sports history podcasts. If you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcast. And check out our page on Facebook. It's called Basketball History 101 Podcast. There you will find short historical posts, and I'll also announce there when new episodes come out. I want to thank my producer and editor, Jacob Loayza. Join us each week as we continue to mine the history of basketball for more great stories from the past. Take care and see you soon.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com. Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, aka the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.